What if I told you that President Trump just sat down and explained, point blank, how his administration plans to slash government waste, expose fraud, and actually balance the budget? Yeah, you heard that right. While the media keeps spinning distractions, Trump just gave one of the most straightforward and revealing answers about what's really happening behind the scenes in Washington. So before we dive in, make sure you like this video, hit subscribe, and turn on the notifications. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's get into it.
Dr. Johnson was the founder and chief executive of a private student loan company, Reunion Student Loan Financing Corporation, before assuming his official role with the department. Is that correct?
That probably is correct.
Yes, it is.
Let me just interject. And
I would like to continue.
And I would like to make clear that
we'll give you some time. I will get to it. Thank you so much.
The individual you have referred to is not part of the acquisition or procurement team.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman. Madam Secretary, countless news sources have reported on the conflict of interest that run rampant through your top aides, especially those advising you on higher ed and loan servicing. When responding to questions about these conflicts, you have failed to adequately convince Congress and the American people that these conflicts do not interfere with the billions of taxpayer dollars flowing from education to corporate interests. Today, I would like to better understand your decisions for selecting aides and ensuring that their conflicts do not harm taxpayers. Last May, 4 of my colleagues on this committee sent your general counsel a request for information about conflict of interest surrounding your $2 billion next-gen loan servicing solicitation. Given that this solicitation is given, I would like some information about the team that's leading it. Does Dr. A. Wade Johnson, is he the one that's spearheading this solicitation?
Dr. Johnson is head of the Next Gen Initiative.
All right. According to New York Times investigation, Dr. Johnson was the founder and chief executive of a private student loan company, Reunion Student Loan Financing Corporation, before assuming his official role with the department. Is that correct?
That probably is correct.
Yes, it is.
Let me just interject. And
I would like to continue.
And I would like to make clear that
we'll give you some time. I will get to it. Thank you so much. Dr. Johnson was also the executive at the two financial services companies, First Data Corporation and TSYS. Additionally, Dr. Johnson was hired at least one other TSYS veteran, Mr. Patrick Fox. Have any of Dr. Johnson's previous employers bid on elements of next-gen solicitation?
Congresswoman, all of my staff, all of my team at the Department of Education and Federal Student Aid has gone through their ethics process, has taken and takes their ethics obligations very seriously. We don't have conflicts, and we will not be conflicted. We continue to have a robust screening process, and can stand and be very resolute about that.
So given that there is about $2 billion per year in taxpayer dollars flowing through this program, will you commit to releasing communication between the procurement team and any of Dr. Johnson's former employees?
So all of the procurement is walled off from the rest.
That would just be yes or no. Would you be committed to releasing any communication between Dr. Johnson and his employees?
Not to releasing internal communication, but the procurement team is walled off from the rest of the team, and the procurement process is very definitely prescribed as to how it has to happen.
That has not clearly answered my question. The federal acquisition regulations have a section on conflict of interest. It states, the general rule is to avoid strictly any conflict of interest or even the appearance of conflict of interest in government contract relations. While many federal laws and regulations place restrictions on actions of government personnel, their official conduct must, in addition, be such that they would not have no reluctance to make a full public disclosure of their actions. You seem to have reluctance to make a full public disclosure of the actions of the head of the department's largest single procurement team, despite there being obvious appearance of conflict of interest. How is your denial to release communication in line with extremely high conflict of interest standards that's required by federal law?
The individual you have referred to is not part of the acquisition or procurement team.
Okay. But we need the communication that is happening between the procurement team and the employers of Dr. Johnson.
That process is walled off from any other process.
During a recent exchange, Trump was asked which department he's most impressed with and which one's giving him the most resistance. And his answer said it all. He's not picking favorites yet because the fight has just begun. He said it's still early and that every department, every official, is being watched closely. That's how a leader talks. He's not handing out participation trophies. He's setting the tone for accountability. He went on to praise Elon, most likely Elon Musk, for doing great work with some teams and dealing with challenges in others. What that really tells you is Trump is surrounding himself with results-driven people, not bureaucrats. He's pushing them to fix what's broken, not just manage it. And when he mentioned the State Department and negotiations with Russia and Ukraine, you could tell he's serious about restoring American strength through real diplomacy, not endless war or weakness. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Trump made it clear that cutting the size of government is a top priority. He talked about the waste, the bloated systems, and how many people in government just aren't doing their jobs. He called out the corruption in Social Security, saying there are checks still being sent to people who are supposedly 200 years old. Think about that. That's your tax money being stolen, while Washington insiders pretend it's all too complicated to fix. He's not pretending. He's saying it out loud. This is the kind of leadership that terrifies the political establishment. Because when you start uncovering where the money's really going, you start pulling the plug on decades of fraud, favoritism, and waste. Trump's talking about people cashing checks that were meant for the dead, while real working Americans are barely scraping by thanks to inflation and bad policy. That's the swamp he's been talking about draining all along. He also said something most politicians are too scared to touch: balancing the budget. He's not talking about vague promises for 10 years down the line. He said maybe next year, or the year after, maybe even sooner. That's a man thinking like a businessman, not a bureaucrat. And that's why so many people are drawn to him. Because when Trump says he's going to get the job done, you know he means it. So here's the takeaway. This wasn't just another Q&A session. This was Trump laying down the blueprint for what real reform looks like. Less waste, less corruption, more accountability, and a balanced budget that puts America first again. If you're tired of the same recycled excuses from Washington, you're not alone. Trump's making it clear that it's time for results, not rhetoric. And whether you love him or hate him, you can't deny this. He's the only one talking about fixing government from the inside out. Stick around, because this story's just getting started. Like the video if you believe in cutting waste, fighting fraud, and putting America first again. Subscribe for more updates. And let's keep this conversation going. Because the truth is, when real leadership walks into the room, even Washington starts to tremble.